Welcome to the HyperFast Show, where we believe unlimited growth in business and life is created by surrounding yourself with people who have been where you are going. Learning from others allows you to compress time and grow hyper fast. And now, here are your hosts, Keri Shull and Dan Lesniak. Keri and Dan are real estate developers, best-selling authors, billion-dollar agents, and million-dollar agent makers. And now, get ready to grow hyper fast.
So we're going to kick off into the second segment here. And next up is a local friend who's coming to share, one of the top agents running a huge team in this marketplace. So let's welcome to the stage Keri Shull. Come on up, Keri.
Hey guys. How you doing? Excellent. Did you guys all get your Starbucks? So I can count on you to have tons of energy. So what I wanted to talk to you guys about today, how many of you got in the business because you wanted to have unlimited income potential? For how many of you is that appealing? So a lot of you didn't want to make money out there. I don't buy it. How many of you was it the flexibility? You liked the idea of owning your own time and being able to truly control how you spent your life. So I don't know if any of you saw me out there, but my baby is 3 weeks old. I have a 1.5-year-old and a 3-year-old. They're also out there. So for me, flexibility to run a family was really, really important. But the problem is, once you get in the business, how many of you feel like there's not as much flexibility as you would want? Because if a house comes on the market and you're working with the buyer, you got to jump right on top of showing them the home, especially in our market, right? So the real problem is if you're working with a lot of buyers, the more successful you get as an agent, the less flexibility you have. True? Okay? So for me, I now have a big team, but when I was working on my own, I remember feeling like I was handcuffed to my cell phone, and I didn't have the flexibility that I wanted when I got in the business. So then you think about when you meet with a buyer, how many of you have met, I want you to stand up, get ready. How many of you have met with a buyer who is not realistic about their expectations before? Stand up. Now I'm really just trying to see who has energy. I see you sitting down back there. So all of us, right? Because the average buyer, it's human nature. They want more than they can afford. They want to be in a location that doesn't match their budget for what they're looking for, right? Okay, so the reason that this tool that I'm about to teach you, and the lesson that I'm teaching, I have 15 minutes. I usually spend a full day on this, so I'm going to do my best to deliver as much value to you guys as I can, as fast as I can, okay? But the reason that people are unrealistic and then they leave your meeting still being unrealistic is because you're trying to build rapport in the meeting and you don't want to break their heart, right? In that first meeting. And some of you are doing those first meetings in a house. Am I correct? So they're calling you off Zillow, Realtor.com, off whatever. They're seeing the house online, and then they want to go see the house, right? And you're trying to figure out, how do I set their expectations when they walk in the door and they think this place is a dump and it's not at all what I'm looking for, and it's the nicest thing that they could buy for their budget? Anyone relate to that? Okay. So the problem, if they leave the first meeting, I'm telling you now, I'm going to ask for your help. If they leave the first meeting and you haven't reset their expectations, what are the consequences? I'm looking for a volunteer. What? Failure, absolutely. Why? They're disappointed. You don't set the expectations correctly. Now, in the olden days, we didn't have to worry about that because we could stick them in our car, we could exhaust them for a few weekends, and then we would reset their expectations. But with technology the way it is today, it doesn't work that way. Because if they leave that meeting with you and you haven't succeeded at resetting their expectations, they're going to go on Zillow, they're going to call another agent, and you're not going to get the deal. Worse, you may even get them to sign a buyer agreement. How many of you get exclusive right to work with you after you meet with a client? Nice, about 50% of you, that's impressive. So if you get that agreement signed, then I have a very sad term. I call it ghosting. They never respond to you again. Why? Because they feel you didn't listen to them, because you're sending them homes that don't match what they want, and then you're trying to get them to come out with you to look at properties, but they're feeling like you didn't listen. Can you guys relate to that? Right? So it's absolutely critical after that first meeting that you reset their expectations. So they're looking for a ton of things. Some of them want a swimming pool in an area that doesn't have backyards, right? They have all of these things that they want. So the way that we start our process, when you think about how we do this, we always search for the sold homes in the last 90 days first. How many of you guys right now start the process focusing on solds instead of actives? 2. All right, listen closely because this could be a game changer in your business. A lot of you are telling them what you want doesn't exist. What you want is unrealistic, instead of showing them facts and data to support them understanding the market. Is that sinking in? So imagine if you go to Nordstrom's and you say, I want a pair of stunning shoes that sparkle. And the person says, I'm sorry, they don't exist. Do you like that salesperson? They are the bearer of bad news. You dislike them instantly. That is your fear, and that is often why you guys aren't resetting their expectations, because you don't want to disappoint them when you're still building rapport, right? Can I get a yes? Yes. Sweet. Okay, so if you start with the solds, here's what happens. When you're using this tool, you're going to put all of their criteria in. A critical tip is I don't want you to massage the criteria, meaning they say, we want a single-family home, and you say, how about a condo? Because you already know their budget doesn't align. I want you to listen to exactly what they want, put it in the system, and let the system pull up the results. Here's another tip. Write this down. You do not want to narrow the price range. Why? Because you want them to see, based on all of their criteria, what's the range of what it costs. Do you guys imagine that that's valuable for the client to know? So if their budget is $300,000 and the options are between $500 and $1.2, what's their impression? Whoa, okay, I can't afford $1.2. I really don't like these at $500, so we need to make some changes, right? So make sure, again, you do not touch that price point. So if they're saying 500, don't put in 500 less. Start out with a blank, and then they're going to be able to see exactly what's so. Sort it by lowest to highest, and then I want you to say back to the client. I'm giving you just some very, very quick tips on this, but there's a lot more to learn. Say back to the client, okay, it looks like your price range is $300,000. And right now, based on all of your criteria, it's actually between $500 and $1.2. So that doesn't align with what you're looking for. Okay? Can you guys imagine, if you're the client for a moment, how that feels? It's facts. They're looking at it on the computer screen with you. So am I a bad person because I'm showing you the facts, or am I educating you? Education. And that's what clients want, right? That's what they're expecting from us. But a lot of times the delivery makes them dislike us. So once you're able to bring up that list, if there's nothing that's even close to their budget, then you have to start working on, and I'm going to show you, it's a tool that we use called the Circle of Truth. It's amazing. It brings out what's real, what's true, so they can find options. But let's imagine that the budget that you gave me was $750, and there are 5 options between $500 and $750. Then what you do is sort, and you start showing the options that are less expensive. And you're actually showing them the pictures, you're letting them get a feel for the property, and then you're asking them, would they have bought it? Okay? Very, very important that you don't let them say, yes, but. Yes, I would have bought it, but I would want a new kitchen and all new bathrooms. Because what changes then? Yes! But they do that all the time. When you start doing this exercise, you're going to see that that's their natural inclination. And so it's really important that you reflect back to them, I'm so glad you're sharing with me that you like the layout and that you would have bought it, but we would have to budget for those renovations. So let's keep looking and find something that matches your criteria exactly that you would have bought. You guys seeing where I'm going with this? So as you're doing this exercise, what it's doing for them is teaching them about the market. I'm going to fast forward in the process to when you're going to write the contract and you're trying to craft a winning offer. You've already pulled the comps with them. You've already studied the statistics, and so you're also priming them to be prepared to write a compelling offer for the seller because they're not studying the comps at the moment that they find the house when their emotions are out of control high, right? You're educating them the whole time. You guys with me? Is this helpful? Are you seeing how this could make you more money with buyers? And you could have more flexibility in your life by not working with people who cannot get realistic. You're finding out day one. How many of you would have hours of your life back with your friends and family if you knew the buyers that could be realistic versus those who could not up front? I mean, it's huge. It's huge. Okay, so here is the circle of truth, okay? There are 4 things that you can adjust to make the biggest difference in coming up with options: the price, the location, the features, and the type of home. So I shared with you that on our team, this process, when I do a training, this takes about 2 weeks to get everybody fully focused on how to do the buyer process to really win. Today I have 15 minutes. So what's important here, if you know the market, you're going to know what items are going to make the biggest difference. So let me give you an example in our backyard in Arlington where we do a ton of business. How many of you guys have done a deal with our team, by the way? Man, I really hope that all of you try and do a deal with us this year. That would be so exciting. And some of you are already asking me what listings I have that match your buyer's criteria. I love that. We're in the back of the room. If you have a buyer that's struggling to find something and you want to do a deal, let's do it. I love that idea. So if you know the market, as an example, if someone's telling me, I want a 2-car garage, I want to be able to walk to the metro, I want this price point, I want a single-family home, I need this big of a yard, blah, 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 blah. Okay. What I know in Arlington is that 2-car garage is going to dramatically reduce the number of houses, right, that have a 2-car garage. But if I were to look at it slightly differently and examine the need behind the need, why do they want that 2-car garage? Well, if they have the lot that can support the 2-car garage, are they willing to build it in the future? Or are they willing, if they need to also be walking distance to the metro, do they commute by driving? How do they commute? So your job is to ask a ton of questions during this exercise, because what you're trying to do is continue to build rapport through asking the right questions to get feedback from your client about where they're willing to be flexible. So how many of you have lost a client because you didn't reset their expectations correctly? 3 of you. I think that Starbucks might not be kicking in, or you guys might be fibbing to me here. We all have, right? If you've been in this business for a while, you have, and so sometimes it's because you haven't delivered the questions in a way that truly gets to the heart of what's important to the client. So I'm going to share a story with you real quick. A few years ago, a girl called me and she said, I found you. It was when I was at Remax, actually, so it might have been a Remax lead. I found you online. However, we ended up linking up, and she and I met. And I always try and sit down with the client before I show them a house. So even if that means going to a coffee shop close to the house they want to see, I want to sit down and have a conversation so I have time to do this in the process. For us, there's 3 parts of our buyer presentation. The first is a needs analysis. So we always want to understand the client's needs first. The second is the presentation, and that's when you're really going through and explaining the process to the client, and you're presenting your value. What differentiates you and is going to help you do a better job for that client than anyone else. And then the last is the reality check, which is the process I'm talking to you about right now. What we find, if we don't get to this part of the process, our conversion ratio tanks. And only 2 of you in this room were doing sold comps first. So are you guys with me on how big of an opportunity this is in your business if you truly start doing it? Yes? They're awake. They're awake. So the story I'm telling you about my client, Crystal, when she called, we sat down. She said, listen, I've had a really bad experience with agents. Who's heard that before? I've had to fire 2 agents because I'm like, why? Tell me about it. Well, they don't listen to me. Okay. So tell me a little bit more about that. What happened? Well, here's what happened. Everybody told her she couldn't have a washer dryer, and she wanted a washer dryer in her unit, right? So we did this process, and ultimately, what was I telling her to? The same thing. However, my delivery was different, and so I've now sold her 3 homes. The last one was a new construction home in Willowsford. And I've probably got 20 referrals. I'm working with her brother right now from her family because we took such good care of her. The properties that I showed her, ironically, were the same properties that she'd already seen. But the difference is she felt like I really heard her and understood her. And I showed her the first day online the options that were available with a washer dryer. And what do you think she said? Oh my God, I don't want a washer dryer, right? It was just that we connected in a different way because I took her through this process. So does anyone have a question about how you would use this process in your business? If you decided, you know what, I'm going to listen to Keri. I'm going to try this tomorrow. What are the things that you're afraid may or may not happen? Everybody's ready? I'm going to set the world on fire, go out, sell tons of homes tomorrow. No one has any questions? Who was brave? Guys, I sold 481 homes last year. None of you have a question about how we're doing this when only 2 of you were doing it before?
You know what? I think these guys need questions offline from you. So why don't you guys catch Keri at the break for questions so we can.
He's saving you.
Well, I'm saving myself too, so.
I have 2 minutes and 44 seconds.
Yeah, but you got more time coming up.
Okay.
So.
How are you dealing with the change in the MLS? Because I find I knew the old MLS front and back, but yet I'm like, okay, washer, dryer, and unit, because I love this methodology. I've used it before when they want a unicorn, it's just not out there.
Yep.
So
I don't, I'll be honest, I don't like the new MLS.
Yeah.
I find it very challenging, and we could probably have an entire day of feedback about that. It's harder, but it's still possible to do a really good job showing them what they need to know to guide them through the process. Okay, so last slide. I told you guys that normally when I do this, it's a full day or a full 2-week period of training. I've prepared something for you guys. If you text, you see the number. Somebody, you guys grab your phones, hold them up.
Can y'all see that? 703?
Oh, Michael.
703
Michael taught me to do that.
420-545-5494.
Yep. So if you guys text Xplode to that, you're going to see step by step the 3 parts of the process that I told you about, ending with the most important bullet points for the reality check analysis that we just talked about. I'm still in it? Whoa. 703-420-5494. And then you're going to text Xplode. So when you guys do this, the first person who gets the text back, raise your hand. I just want to make sure. Yes, that was fast. Awesome, it's working. Okay, if any of you have a problem, we had an incompatibility at my last conference where a couple people weren't able to get it. Do me a favor, go give your card. Tyler, can you stand up? Tyler's in the back of the room. So do this now. If you can't get it to work for some reason, it's instant. It's going to text you back, and then we're going to email you the PDF so you'll have the step-by-step guide. So how many of you guys was that helpful? You guys feel like you can use that? Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the HyperFast Show. Subscribe to us if you want to make sure you get the latest and greatest HyperFast shows. And remember, we love reviews. Reviews help us bring better and better guests and improve our shows. So give us the good, the bad, and the ugly. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we will see you next time.